Sup, students? Welcome to With You, where we seek to grow deeper in our relationship together with God. Because even when we're not with you, we're with you.
We're your hosts, Tony and Phoebe.
Yesterday, we cracked open the story of Jesus' temptation in the wilderness that we read in Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 through 11. And Tony left us with these questions of, what are you being tempted by right now? And what does that actually reveal about your heart?
Today is Monday, therefore Phoebe's going to be unpacking a little bit of the context behind this passage where Jesus goes into the wilderness for 40 days, which to me, 40 seems kind of like a random number. Would you say so, Phoebe?
I think so. 40 is a pretty random number to me and maybe to you too, but to the Jews, 40 would have been a very familiar number. And to fully understand the story of Jesus' temptation in the wilderness for 40 days, we must fully understand the story of the Israelites who are wandering in the desert for 40 years.
So Phoebe, in that case, would you take us on a journey of the Israelites wandering in the wilderness?
Yeah, so this is the story of when Moses led the Israelites out of Egyptian captivity. They crossed over the Red Sea, which is a wild story in and of itself. So now we have around at least 600,000 Israelites, the people of God, who are wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. And God is actually using this time to prepare them for the Promised Land, which the Promised Land is the land between the Mediterranean Sea and the Jordan River. And he's testing their faithfulness. And it's really crazy because, spoiler alert, they end up actually getting to the Promised Land eventually after those 40 years. It was a long 40 years. They do end up getting to the Promised Land, and they do it by crossing over the Jordan River, which might sound familiar. It might ring a bell because Jesus does this journey in reverse. That's how he got here. We just read last week the story of Jesus' baptism in the Jordan River, and immediately he crosses over the Jordan into the wilderness. And so he's doing this journey in reverse. But here we have the Israelites wandering in the wilderness for 40 years, being prepared by God for the Promised Land, because it was crucial for them to be fully trusting in God before they entered into that Promised Land. And it's really awesome because the Israelites, although they were tested and tried, they actually time and time again failed. They over and over again, they failed in their faithfulness to the Lord. So here we have a story of how God is continuing to lead them through the wilderness. They're wandering because they have yet to actually fully understand who they are. They are the people of God.
So we have these Israelites who seemingly aren't really ready for the Promised Land because they keep falling short. They keep disobeying what God has asked of them. Phoebe, would you say that this group was exceptionally rebellious, or are they just normal?
You know, I've never personally met the Israelites, but we have every reason to believe that they were pretty average Joes. They were middle-of-the-road, normal people like you and I, and they also weren't set up for failure by God. God had created these commandments, created this law, in order for them to grow into who they fully were. But we see time and time again that they fall short of this standard. They fall short of the law, and in their time in the wilderness, it's kind of like a thermometer. Track with me here. Thermometer, as we all know very well these days, when it takes your temperature, and when you have a high temperature, it reveals that you have a fever, a sickness of some sort. Hopefully not COVID, but maybe it's a symptom. So here we have a thermometer that checks your temperature, and as many times as I check my temperature, the thermometer can never actually get rid of the fever itself. It just reveals to me that I am sick. It reveals to me that there's a problem. I'm not the way I was meant to be. And the wilderness is very much like that. The wilderness, the failing of Israelites to be faithful to God, reveals that all of humanity, really, because they're average Joes, they're the people of God, but they're just like you and me. There's something wrong in us, that there is actually a sickness. And the wilderness reveals that like a thermometer does. And what's so cool is the wilderness actually points forward to the cure, the only thing that is going to heal us of this sickness, which is Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is the cure to the failing of the Israelites in the wilderness. But we'll get more on that tomorrow, won't we, Tony?
Yeah, until then, let's remember to be real before God and with one another as long as it's called today. It's been great to be with you. Take care.